Hey guys, it is Tuesday, January the 18th, 2022, and I wasn't able to get on last week. I had too much going on, so thought I would jump on today and give you all a uh, quick one today. Just some new things that have started coming up. I think I've talked about it before, but during the first, during the initial COVID shutdown, uh, we saw an increase in domestic violence cases. And, I think it's pretty clear that it was because people were forced to spend too much time together. Uh, and I don't mean that just because people spend time together, there'll be an increase in domestic violence cases. I think it was all the added stresses of everything associated with the virus and the inability to connect with other people and have any type of social interaction. So it made it, difficult for people to get along sometimes, and we did see an increase in domestic violence cases in households. And like I said, through talking to some of them, we knew it was from spending too much time together, but it was just a logical conclusion that could be drawn from seeing the numbers. Uh, we we uh, we're waiting to see, as you know, those of you here in the county know that recently our numbers have been higher than they've ever been, which led to the suspension of jury trials again. So far, at least from the court's perspective, it appears that that is going to start up again, uh, possibly by January 31st. But I guess we'll have to wait for Philip Kaiser to advise us on, the numbers, whether they're going down, if we've peaked yet and the numbers are on the downslope, or whether we're still rising in the next couple of weeks. That remains to be seen. But I'm curious to see if this big rise in numbers, which is causing people to quarantine again, uh, will also lead to a new rise in domestic violence cases. It may be different this time because while people are forced to quarantine, society is still open. And so, we may find that people just choose to violate the quarantine rules and go out anyway, uh, rather than sit at home and fight with their family. I guess, we'll have to see how that turns out. But this leads into a new area, which is currently we're all looking at. And when I say we're all, I mean the community, the legal community, the criminal defense community. And that is whether or not this Texas abortion ban, if it stands, if it ultimately stands, is going to lead to more domestic violence situations. Um, will an abusive man uh, first not allow his spouse to get an abortion within the 6 weeks allotted if she could even figure out she was pregnant that fast? But if she had wanted to get an abortion, would he physically harm her to keep her from doing so? On the flip side, uh, will abusive women, try and use their pregnancy against or to trap uh, their spouse in the household, or that type of stuff? Will a abusive husband who's concerned about his pregnant wife lead to domestic violence to keep her from going out for fear that she might get infected with COVID while she's pregnant and therefore harm their child? It's just so unclear, again, whether or not the abortion ban will ultimately survive. But if it does, are we going to see increased domestic violence cases as a result? And you can think of more ways than I just did. I read an article about this, and so it kind of made me think of it on a broader scale. Like, I hadn't considered that before I saw the article, so it is an interesting point to consider. And like I said, especially since we saw during COVID, the initial shutdown, a rise in domestic violence cases, just like we see a rise in domestic violence cases during the holidays when people are gathered, family members are gathered together and not working. We tend to see a rise again because people are spending so much time together. So then, like I said, I came across this article, and the article that I read was about a woman who was in the trap of, she wanted to have an abortion to get away from her abuser, and was worried of the way that the abortion ban might affect her. And so it did make me think about that. And like I said, the vice versa, where a man would try to control his pregnant wife from leaving the house for fear that she'll get infected. Could that lead to abuse? It could. Could there be a situation where a woman used the pregnancy to trap a man? It could. As I've told you before, we've defended many females who have assaulted males. It's not necessarily always husband and wife. We've represented a woman who tried to hit her boyfriend with a car. I mean, these things happen. And so when you start imposing rules on people, like imposing a lockdown and forcing people to stay home, imposing abortion bans and forcing people to do things, there are consequences that may come with it that we didn't think about when we were doing the legislation. So that was just a quick little thought I had for this week. I didn't have enough time to dig through and find topics. The new year has started off pretty quickly for us. With the exception of jury trials, we are in full swing. Court appearances are on. Everything's not back to normal because we don't have jury trials, but we do have to be in court. That's why I've got my tie on. I was there this morning. So I didn't have time to dig in hard on the topic for today, but since I didn't make it last week, I did want to come on this week. I hope all of you have a great week, and I should see y'all next Tuesday. Thanks a lot. Have a great week.